Welcome to the ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast show. Over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it is just you as a listener that I can barely begin to express how much I appreciate you tuning in. As I know you have a lot of options. As Listen Notes, the podcast platform reports, there are about 168.9 million plus available podcast show episodes you could choose from, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. As indeed it is just me on the podcast outside for now, all substance, no muss, no fuss, no fluff, no fancy or flashy high production inserts, just straight to the key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens, hence the ChristiTutionalist Politics show name. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and last name is spelled L-E-N-A-R-D, author, co-host the Savage Unfiltered podcast, and for purposes of this show, most notably, blogger for thelibertybeacon.com, which most of the content for this show will be derived, food for thought you can then delve deeper into via my online articles and reach your own conclusion. And as Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Hello, everybody. Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics, Season 1, Episode 27. This show is going to be basically our Christmas show. If you could see on... Yeah, ho, 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 right. Now I have a machine gun. But anyway, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, I forgot the other thing there, you can see my shirt is actually cooperating. Merry Christmas. I thought the green Mary and the Mass might get goofed up by the green screen in the background, but hey, it's showing, so yeah. Bonus.
Looks good, Joe.
Yeah,
looks good, and you look good.
Thank you. You do too, my friend. Season 1, Episode 27. This is planning on airing December 23rd, 2023. So right before Christmas. So, yep, it's a Christmas episode. And thelibertybeacon.com, yes, there still will be a corresponding piece that drops Saturday, the 23rd of December. But yes, it too will just all be about Christmas, whereas this show, as most know already, is in conjunction with or corresponds with my piece that drops every Saturday on thelibertybeacon.com. And please check the transcript, an older piece, The Politics of Potterville, since It's a Wonderful Life will have been playing on endless loop on most TV channels already for a month and a half by the time you see this. I'm the one rare oddball that doesn't discuss the Christmassy aspect of it, but the politics hidden in it that you don't think about and don't really see, but are there. You're getting subconsciously. So check the transcript, which you can find at Buzzsprout. That's where the show drops every Saturday morning, and then it migrates to the other platforms. But the transcript you can definitely find at buzzsprout.com, and you will see that bonus material like I put in the transcript every week. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Christmas, I guess. Joining me is my friend, Pastor Jeff Jones of God's Family Room, Taylor, Michigan. And welcome to the show, my friend Jeff.
Joe, thank you so much for having me. You know, I didn't notice your ChristiTutionalist Politics behind you, and I love it. It's the first time I saw that word, and that describes me. Yes, I'm a ChristiTutionalist.
Yeah, me, you, others are who I had in mind when I trademarked that term.
That's nice.
I feel like it's a calling. You know, the way I look at it, conservative has become a pejorative in many senses, or it evokes an emotionally hysterical reaction in some. So I figured bring fellow Christians together, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Real Christians, not the fake Pelosi and Biden types.
Yeah.
I was born and raised Catholic. I don't, and I think you know, right? I coined the term for Francis, the nincompoop. Have you heard me say that before? He's
Well,
far more interested in communism than Catholicism. So,
no, that's a long twist of alliances through Moscow and the Vatican. That's for sure. But
yeah.
hope you don't mind my no shave November. Still
Oh,
working on it. So just getting a little growth. No, I did not fall on my face before I went into my office and I got a dirty floor. That's not what happened. So
yeah, we are recording in
yeah,
November before Thanksgiving, even.
sorry
So,
about that.
although I do have my Christmas lights up, and a neighbor down the street has theirs on already, so I said, "Hey, I'm not going to let them be the only ones." So I've got all my Christmas lights on already, 6 weeks ahead. I normally wait till Thanksgiving, but you know what? I want to first ask you about, though, Halloween, because
Wow.
you did something so special at God's Family Room. I'd like you to tell this audience about that. A great, fun, different kind of thing to get people to the church.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Halloween, but we take advantage, we leverage the time frame, and it works out pretty good for the story that we do. We do a live outdoor drama of 13 events, and that number is specifically chosen of 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 a dramatized version of the Book of Revelation, and it takes about 50 to 60 people to pull this event off. There's 13 different stations along the way that is a walkthrough drama. You can go to that. I think it's still that you can still go to it. It's HTTPS RIP.godsfamilyroom.com, and you can do a virtual tour still of that, or you can take a 13 segmented that's 13 1-minute segments kind of the event with questions and answers of what you're actually seeing a little bit. It's still under some development, and we're still working on other distribution for it. But again, it is video documented of walking through a live woods at night, and we kind of prep it with reminding everybody that this is a live woods. There are things out of our control. We cut about 2,500 feet of trails through it, and there's black widows and brown recluse and snakes and rodents and poison ivy, and so we warn everybody, please stay on the trails. You get off the trail, you're on your own. So that in itself makes people a little bit, and they'll say, you are kidding, aren't you? I said, no, that is the absolute truth. And all of a sudden people are a little bit more apprehensive about walking through the woods at night, and so and they are there, but we did our best to remove them off the path. So and it kind of corrals people through the trails. So we put up these 6-foot high walls of black plastic, and we route them through the woods like walls on both sides. And then every so often there's a breakout session. And this year, the first, when you walk through, we warn some people there's 60 some strobes and wandering demons.
Epileptics, yeah.
Yeah. So we tell everybody don't stare into that stuff, but there's there's a bunch of demons. We warn everybody there's demons in our woods, but all of our demons are wearing name tags. so,
Hello,
but
my name is Bill. I will be your demon for tonight.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But stuff like prejudice, hatred, anger, selfishness, confusion, anxiety, depression. These are truly the things that haunt us through our life, and they seem to follow us everywhere we go. So I warn everybody, be careful what follows you, And and there's some that are live and some that are not. And so what we we prep with this story that, could you imagine it being rush hour on maybe a Friday night, and you're driving by Metro Airport, and all of a sudden semi-truck drivers start vanishing, and airplane pilots start vanishing, and cab drivers and high-low drivers, and all over the world this is going on. And could you imagine the mayhem that would follow an event like that? And so even though the word rapture doesn't exist in a Bible, in a, I guess, an English version of the Bible, it is the Greek word rapteo does exist, and in rapteo it was translated caught up. It says we'll be caught up to meet the Lord in the air. And so I try to avoid theologies on all of it. A lot of people, a lot of different understandings of it, but it's not a matter so much of if and when and how, but it just says we're going to be caught up, right? And so there's other things I can take people to, but could you imagine an event like that taking place, and all of a sudden planes crashing, semi-trucks, bus drivers with kids and everything? Just, I mean, the outfall of something like that would be horrendous. And then that's kind of the preface for what you're about to experience as we walk them through 13 different events of the book of Revelation. It begins with, and I showed them my Bible. Sure, I got one around here somewhere. I got a huge one right here, and I don't want to lift it up. I got a bad arm right now. So, but let's just say here's one of my Bibles. So that represents 7,000 years of history of humanity. Everything that's there has happened. It was prophesied to happen, and it did happen. And ain't no prayers going to change what's coming. God already said it. It's going to take place. That's all I got left.
That those little sliver for those who are listening
3 pages, and it's
those
done.
Who are listening on audio only, picture like 1/75th of the entire Bible there at the end. But it almost, the 13 almost could be also in a way the like 13 different layers of Dante's hell.
A lot of people talk about that. I've had people walk through and use that same analogy. That again, so we station these 13 events. The first thing that people do is they come to a station that we call the mark. And again, so we have two people just dressed like normal, and they're selling the idea kind of like circus barkers. And oddly enough, we have that whole scene kind of set up with it clowns, so they're saying, hey, take the mark, come on, it's gonna be great. Can you imagine the convenience? You got to get the mark. This is going to really help you through life, and you're not going to have to wait in lines. You just swipe your hand and let them do a retinal scan so you can get on the airplane, and you won't be able to open up the refrigerators at Rite Aid until they first do a scan on your hand or your eyes, and they're trying to sell that thing, and they're narrating as we're bringing people through in groups of 6 to a dozen at a time, telling them that whatever they tell you, don't listen to them. So, and I've talked about the mark in other areas, and we got to remember that John's having a dream, a vision of something in the future, and how
that
else
he couldn't understand at the time. But
no, how would you describe
does it make sense now?
Yeah. So how would you describe a bunch of people waiting in line getting a mark, and told that you can't go to work, you can't cash your paycheck, you can't get Social Security until you first get a mark? And again, John's having a dream, and if he doesn't know what he's seeing, he can only describe that in words that are known. So he uses that terminology. I'm not saying that that the COVID jab was the mark or is the mark, but it's just kind of relative that you couldn't go to work, you couldn't go into grocery stores, you couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't cash your check. They were talking about certainly you couldn't go into your school. So very interesting, and everybody just marched right in step with what they were told. And
the COVID card is kind of working its way to the
Yeah,
everybody
it's
must get the
definitely a
mark. Yep.
precursor. It's
Yep.
definitely a test precursor to how easy it will be to get people to respond. All you got to do is tell them you can't do this. And again, and there was so much objections to it, and certainly nobody wanted to get sick, and many of us know people that died from COVID.
I know a
But
couple. Yep.
I got COVID several times. My family members got COVID. I've lost a couple friends to it. So it was a real thing. It's unfortunate that it was man created and then inserted into our lifestyle. But anyways, so we go through the mark, and the next thing they come to is a scene that looks like a living room, and someone's screaming as they try to get through traffic to get home, and all they find are empty clothes of their parents, and in a panic looking for comfort and can't find it. They move along, and someone comes up on like a broadcast, steps out in a suit and tie and tells everybody, we don't know what's happening. It could be an alien invasion, but you can trust me. I will get to the resolve. He says, if I have to march against heaven myself, we will find an answer to where everybody's going, what's happening. Maybe this is some Russian or Chinese new terrorist or what form of terror. And so he said pretty good prep to all that. And then we end up in front of a bottomless pit, our illustration of a bottomless pit, and smoke's coming out of it. And we go to the book of Revelation that talks about the bottomless pit will be opened up. Smoke will ascend from the deep. This smoke will turn into creatures. One of those creatures is kind of scorpion-like. And if it stings you, you're driven insane for 5 months. You'll look for death, but unable to find it. And so at that point, we have 400 watts of power with some horrible sounds, and flying over your head on wires are 6 and 7 foot scorpions waiting to sting you. So they're still on the ground. They got to walk by one. They got to go over a bridge, and it's like swinging in their face. And,
Yeah.
but again,
Yeah.
smoke mirrors. We have a low budget, but again, we do what we do with it and try to create. And then we come to a scene where we call it
full disclosure.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but I did not make it. So I will definitely put rip.godsfamilyroom.com in the show notes for people to check out. And I don't want you to give it all away. So let's just leave it there and ask people go check. Now, do you have any, well, I don't want to say fun. This isn't meant to be fun. It's meant to be purposeful. Do you have anything like one of my favorite Christian movies of all time is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. Did you ever see that?
I remember that. I remember the
I
title.
love that because it delivers great message in a comedic way. Too much Christian fare is just beating people over the head with the Bible, and that doesn't help. That was great. Now, in that film, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, a guy goes on probation, needs to do community service, and he goes to a church where they're going to have the crucifixion of Christ as a play. Are you planning anything like that for Christmas?
We're on the edge right now. We want to do just kind of like a free meditation walkthrough that just lights up. I did create some potential scenes based
through the forest again.
Yeah, through the forest again. But at night, again, open, certain hour. But we haven't clarified. It's a lot of work. I mean, RIP, we put about 500 human hours into that event. A lot of theatrics and, like I said, smoke and mirrors and people, actors walking around, stationary dummies, and we got a 12-foot dragon and a cemetery scene, and people are challenged at that point to after experiencing these things that are written out in the book of Revelation. When they happen is not as much as relevant as they are going to happen. And people don't realize we're already in the book of Revelation. This is not people could maybe try to argue with me, but I can show them very specific things that are taking place that are right out of the book of Revelation
Well,
right
and
now.
our time is not God's time. It could be
Yeah.
1 year our time. It could be 10 years our. It could be 100 years for it
Exactly
to
right.
all unfold. So when you're saying we're in the end times, that doesn't mean you're saying, "Oh my God, the sky is
Yeah.
falling. The world is
No.
ending
Right.
tomorrow."
Right.
You're not saying that.
No.
We don't. No one shall know the time or the place.
Again, we just had a couple the last few weeks. Every other Sunday is kind of a prophetic night. I do prophetic current events, and then it's followed up with some. Right now, we're going through the references of Edom and Idumea and Mount Seir as a illustration of America in the end days of prophecy. And so, again, Noah was told the flood was coming. And then, 8 days before it came, he said, get in the boat, because things are happening, right? So we're told to watch is our scriptural reference that we use, that we got to watch, not in panic. We could watch in joy, or we could watch realizing the need for people to hear the truth before it's too late. I always say that, hell is truth seen too late. And so, we've got to recognize the fact that God's working. He's got a plan. I believe that I will never experience the wrath of the Lamb. And so, although it doesn't mean that I won't go through turmoil in my life or whatever else there is out there, or how long, or how, he does tell me the days will be shortened for the elect's sake. So a lot of things that we can talk about on that. But again, the whole event is recorded. Walk through it, enjoy it, share it with people. You get a clear presentation of the gospel, and you get challenged to accept Christ. And so I bet you, I don't know if it's ever been done anywhere else where people have used Halloween to share the gospel. And we leverage that time frame of ghosts and goblins and people waiting out in the cold and the rain, waiting to go into a haunted house.
Exactly.
We give them
That was brilliant on your part. I love that you're doing that you did that. You'll hopefully maybe do it again next year if the world doesn't end tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I never thought about Revelation in this way until you just said that.
Again, we kind of blended a few
my
things.
book, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, is
Yeah.
not fear porn, right? Revelation, there's a lot of stuff to be fearful of there, but it's not meant to be fear porn, but that these things will come to pass, and at least have some degree of understanding these things will happen, that you're not totally surprised by it all.
Well, I think the key thing is that if he's showing it to us, he's telling us to prepare for it in some way, right? So there's nothing wrong with, keeping some extra water in your basement, and a few extra rounds in your gun or whatever. But at the same time, I don't trust in who I am or what I can do. I'm trying to trust in the Lord. And then again, as that day comes upon me, the whole word revelation means to take the cover off. So let's show you what else that you've seen from Genesis to this point, and show you that it is relative of events that are going to happen. And when they start to happen, when rivers show up in the middle of deserts that weren't there, and when Israel starts plumbing into the side of a mountain called referencing Jehoshaphat's Valley, for a day when they may have to get away and hide from things. And again, there's so much happening in Scripture and layers, like you'd said. There is the Old Testament believer waiting for the Messiah's coming. There is the New Day church trying to grasp this Messiah who came, and then yet there's the future church that's been so manipulated, hoard, and watered down that they don't know what's coming. They wouldn't know truth if it had a big sign on it flashing, "This is truth," or they would actually look for that rather than take the time to unlayer or uncover scripture and start matching words and verses that says, wow, hey, what, I always tell people, I said, there ain't no prayer's going to stop what's coming. So you can pray all you want, but this ain't a prayer that's going to be answered. So
right. God is not going to change God's mind at this point. It's ordained, just like we discussed in the past. Pastor Rick on Wham, our friend Pastor Rick,
sure,
discussing this whole anti-Semitism. The Jews killed Christ. Yeah, a few had blood on their hands, tried to get Pilate to be the one to do the dirty work. That doesn't mean Jews of today are responsible for it. It doesn't mean all Jews of that time were responsible for it. And none of them were really responsible because it was ordained to happen. It had to happen. They were all pawns in God's chess game.
Yeah. So again, when God speaks prophetically, once he says something, he doesn't go back on his word. I mean, Moses tried to get him to change his mind. Abraham tried to get him to change his mind. Others have tried to get God to change his mind. And he even gave a couple opportunities, man. He said, if you can find 8 righteous people in Sodom, I won't destroy it. But he couldn't find it. Oh, there were.
That was not a changing of a mind. That was providing free will and an opportunity for the out. Yeah, he gave us the out. It wasn't there. So yeah, now you mentioned a few extra bullets for your guns, so I'm going to drop that my God and Guns article came out on thelibertybeacon.com on November the 11th, which is coincidentally right before kind of we're recording this. But that's, I think, enough fire and brimstone. Hopefully we've got some people left for some more lighthearted stuff.
Yeah, everybody doesn't disappear. I mean, people live through it and enter into the millennial age. And so, wow, crazy.
Yeah, but Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie because the writer says it is. But what are your thoughts on Die Hard as a Christmas movie?
Well, I've tried to, and I bet I've run this in review several different times, and a lot of people will say that that is their favorite Christmas movie. Obviously, Christ is left out of most of it, although
not entirely.
No, not entirely. Like I said, I mean, the only thing is here's his ex-wife at a
his ex-wife whose name is Holly. And that's one of the important Christmas clues. And Holly does read a scripture during the movie. And I'm holding here, for those who could see, at JLenardDetroit YouTube and Rumble channel from Picture House, the 12 reasons why Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I was on the Hodgepodge podcast and we went down all 12. And he even thought of one extra. Hans and the 12 anti-disciples, right? There's another connection to the 12 days of Christmas, the 12 apostles. Hans had 12 anti-apostles. So there is a lot of Christmas in there that people don't think until they view it, looking for those like Easter eggs. And I joked about the beginning, ho, 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 now I got a machine gun. Yeah.
I do think the application, though, here's a guy who's been broken through divorce, goes back wanting hopefully to repair the relationship of his home and family, at Christmas. He's anticipating.
It doesn't get any more Christian and Christmas than someone looking for redemption and to see his family on Christmas.
Yeah, so all that, and I'm sure, like I said, if you keep that in mind, and you could probably go scene by scene and start seeing the other applications, or even the music in the background, or a word that's placed, or a scripture that's written down on a wall, or you know, there's a lot of little tidbits like that in a lot of different movies. Even, you know, because even in Hanukkah, you know, taking back the temple from being defiled by the Greeks, and relighting some candles, and understanding that we're the light in a dark world, and if that candle's not lit, it only gets darker. And so that whole story, like you said, of redemption,
and the Christmas miracle at the end, it is snowing in LA in the form of the papers.
Yeah.
That's snowfall.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily think about that until you point out that's the writer's intent. That's the subconscious element. It's snowing in LA, a Christmas miracle. But anyway, let's talk the other one. Obviously, It's a Wonderful Life, that everybody's probably tired, seen another 1,000 times by the time this airs. And of course, that flopped at the box office, but it is such a classic now. It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, again, I think a lot of people, you know, love the story of hope, love the story of good community. You know, a couple things that aren't talked about a lot, and that is certainly, you know, the crash of '29, and also the introduction of plastics, or soybeans being turned into plastic, some unique economics. But then certainly no one really asked the question, where did the money go that was in Potter's hand? Went into the banking system. That's where everything goes.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'll go back to then my article that dropped in I think October. I dropped The Politics of Potterville, because like you're alluding to, Potter, what indeed would have it been like beyond what Clarence showed, George, if Potterville became the reality rather than Bedford Falls? And I discussed that Tyrant Potter being the tyrant over Potterville. That's why he hated George and wanted rid of George, is because he wanted to kill free markets. Politics you don't think about, but are there in this Christmas movie, because you know, we are that shining city on the hill, and Bedford Falls is not a dichotomy, not a microcosm is the word I'm looking for, of all America, should an evil tyrant like Potter have his way.
You know, it's what Trump was trying to do, and he was trying to topple the banking industry, because they had ruined free enterprise or industry as a whole. And most people they have no idea how deep the background of all that goes, especially from 1929 to today, and bankruptcy that we've never come out of, and Federal Reserve, and where does reserve money go, where does it come from, and what you know, banks are only in business if there's debt. If there's no debt, there's no business to the banks. And so that whole process is a lot to discuss and think about.
Yeah, and again, we're getting a little too serious again, so we will call it quits. Thank you, my friend, Pastor Jeff Jones of God's Family Room in Taylor. Tell us when your hours of service are.
Sunday mornings at 10, I teach. You can catch me live at Jeff Jones on Facebook. I teach.
Although there are a lot of different Jeff Jones on Facebook.
Yeah, there is. You look for Mr. Blue Skies. If you look for Mr. Blue Skies, that'll help you get through all that. But or God's Family Room is where we're at on Facebook as well, which our 11 o'clock is our morning service. We have a 6 o'clock evening service. It does vary. Like this Sunday, our Thanksgiving weekend, we don't have Sunday evening service. We tell you, go enjoy your family. That happens. So, and then we're doing this prophecy thing, till the end of the year. on
Get
Sunday
the
night.
hiccups. Got the
Yeah, I got
hiccups.
them. Yeah. And then Wednesday nights, my wife does an amazing job, Brenda Jones live, as she talks about how we become better people. And so it stimulates me to messages and stimulates me in a lot of ways. So I encourage you 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights
And
as
I
well.
want to thank you on a personal note. Personally, thank you, my friend. You really are my friend. I'm not just saying that. And
Right.
thank you to God's Family Room and your congregation is the word I was looking for. You all helped me when my granddam years ago died, and me being on Social Security disability was scrambling. A distant cousin gifted me a car, but I still had to come up with money to put an engine in it, and you all helped me with that to some degree. So, I really appreciate it. And it's part of this show too about charity. terrorstrikes.info/charity. I list a bunch of different charities about giving back, right?
Yeah.
We all have times of need. And while we may not feel great about taking help, we all sometimes may need it, whether it be financial or just figurative rather than literal, more mental than anything. Yeah. So giving back. So again, thanks for stopping by.
Joe,
I appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me on. Always good to see you, buddy.
Take care.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Oh my. How was I about to conclude the Christmas episode without saying Merry Christmas? All right. Love you, brother. Take care.
Peace,
God
love
bless.
You too. Take care.
Thank you for having tuned into ChristiTutionalist Politics show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. And you can obviously learn more about the very non-traditional or fluffy style Christian book, but a Christian book nonetheless. Also, please tune into Savage Unfiltered Podcast, of which I am a co-host, and be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. In addition to seeing the corresponding thelibertybeacon.com piece referenced in any episode of ChristiTutionalist Podcast, see to the show transcript on podcast platforms that provide access to it, like Buzzsprout at tinyurl.com/ChristiTutionalist for additional bonus material there in the transcript. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and Savage Unfiltered. Maybe even go back a few years and dig up some old The Patriot angles. Share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.